Coming up on the DLLS Stars Podcast today, the penalty kill. What happened? It was so good until it wasn't. That and a whole lot more. And we'll see if Sam remembers who George Costanza is on DLLS right now. This is the DLLS Stars Podcast. Our Stanley Cup Playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy responsibly, and by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to catch the Stanley Cup Final. Just steps away from the AAC, the ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus televisions for all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot for the Stanley Cup Final.
How about that thumbnail?
Well, before we get into that, we have to talk about the ball knower bonus. Sam's excited today, but let's tell you about the ball knower bonus. It's back, and we have a double challenge for you going throughout the final and the finals. You can win a gift card to the All City merch store if you make your pick correctly. Here's how it works. First, you pick a winner, starting by picking the winner for Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final, which is tomorrow night, or tonight, Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Then you make a purchase. Browse our store, make a merch purchase of at least $25 or more. If your pick wins, you'll win a gift card for the same amount as your original order. Very important thing, you must click on the link either in the chat or in the YouTube description on our show today to be able to go follow that, make your pick, and then try to win a gift card. That is the ball knower bonus. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, and I know how eager Sam is, but before we introduce the rest of the panel, if you missed yesterday's show, well, we have to help you a little bit with some knowledge, Sam. Here's George Costanza.
What is this?
I was handcuffed to the bed in my underwear, where I remained, for she certainly seemed interested in me. Though she was attractive, she was also, in fact, a Nazi. The water that I had been swimming in was very cold. And when I dropped the towel, there had been significant shrinkage. My parents were looking at me. So there I was, with a marble rye hanging from the end of a fishing pole. In closing, these stories have not been embellished because they need no embellishment. They are simply, horrifyingly, the story of my life as a short, stocky, slow-witted, bald man.
Oh, that's
Slow-witted.
That's rude.
Oh, also, my fiance died from licking toxic envelopes that I picked out. Thanks again.
And that is a snapshot of who is George Costanza.
I love it. There he is.
Now we have to figure it out. Okay, along with Craig Ludwig and Sam Nestler, and of course our producer, Elijah, we've working on a nickname Smith. I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks for joining us today. Our main topic today is not about a stocky, short, slow-witted, bald man, although we could do hours, Luds, on that. Let's talk about the penalty kill, because the Dallas Stars had one of the league's best penalty kills all season long until they didn't. And here's what I mean. On February 4th, with 7 games left in the regular season, the Stars ranked number 1 in the NHL regular season with 84.9% success rate on their penalty kill. Then from April 5th till April 17th, they lost 7 in a row. It was winless in 7. And they had, in that span, the league's worst penalty kill. They went 13 for 23, 10 power play goals against in 7 games, 56.5. So they ended the regular season on a bit of a whimper. But they flipped the switch and got back to it in the postseason. Round 1 against Colorado, their penalty kill was at 86.4%. Round 2 against Winnipeg, 85.7%. Winnipeg had the best power play in the regular season. Colorado has Nathan MacKinnon, although their power play struggled against the Stars, they have a very good, typically, power play. Round 3 against the Edmonton Oilers, the Stars went 62.5% in 5 games, 10 for 16. A massive weapon for the first 2 rounds became a massive liability against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and Corey Perry and the rest of the Oilers gang. So a week ago or so, I looked at Luds and said, I have an assignment for you if you're so willing. And he delivered. Why did the Stars penalty kill crumble in the most important part of the season? So Luds, I hand over the reins to you to
We're going to go.
tell us what. Yeah, we're just going to leave. Let's go get Frosties. What happened, Luds?
Before we get into this thing, I got a little sidetracked. Okay.
Squirrel.
Just a little bit, because it is not just a penalty kill thing. It's a systemic thing. Did I use that word right?
Yep.
Okay. It's that too. And it's just the way it works out. And so as I was doing what Owen wanted me to do, I kind of went, yeah, but look at this one. Look at this one. So anyways, we'll start with some PK stuff. And this goes in the first series. The one thing that happened in the first series against Colorado is basically every time that Nathan MacKinnon got it, he scored on the power play. But there's a couple examples here, and you can see what we're talking about. This here in the beginning, I like. This is where there's numbers. There's pressure over here, with the exception of I think the winger needs to be on the wall. When you're in this spot, there's really no other place for it to go if somebody gets the puck. Now, the next one's going to show when you don't take the wall away, it ultimately gets out to the point, right? Now look in the slot. Okay, we're still hanging out here on the wall. Yes, Nathan MacKinnon is over here. He's on this side of the ice, and when he's out here near, I don't know, just close to the top of the circle, Jake can handle that shot, even if it's a one-timer, okay? So not bad coverage here. Now let's move on a little bit. Now here, I'm just throwing in some 5-on-5 stuff when it looks at this. I like this. It's a little bit more. Look at, where are you supposed to go with the puck if you're Colorado? Where is it going to go to? It's probably going to go to somebody in a white jersey. The wall is pretty much taken away. Everything else is taken away. Now there are little bobbles here now. Next clip here will show what happens when this is Granlund. Now this is what happens when people get turned around and they stare at the puck. Now you can see where we're spread out. Now we're on the top of the frame. We got one player up here. We got Granlund in the middle of the ice. But at least there's nobody in front of the net. But next, here's what happens here now. Again, is this one's coming from the point. But here's my pet peeve again. You all remember, and here is this player on the bottom of the screen that's standing in front of the shooter. This is number 46. Anybody know who number 46 is?
Yes.
Who is that?
His name is Ilya Lyubushkin.
That's Ilya. What position does he play?
Typically blue
He
line.
plays defense. That's right. Now look at how we're spread out over here. Now we've got one defenseman that's near the net, but look at the position. Jake's got to look around. This defenseman, Lyubushkin, is out here covering. A defenseman is covering a defenseman. I've never seen it written up in any coach's book.
Defenseman in the world.
Yeah. And okay, well, let's take that guy away. Okay, so now the next one, Lyubushkin's got to recover. Lyubushkin leaves one guy, and now he ends up going down to somebody else.
Why do you think? Is that because from a like a natural tendency of I need to be?
Oh,
closer
wait
to
a second. Natural tendency. You mean to play in front of the net for a defenseman? Yes, that's kind of
Do
where
you think
you're
that's why?
That's kind of where they were trained.
Yeah.
Well, he's going back. Harley's standing up in front of the net. There's nobody dangerous right here. But what happens now as Lyubushkin's playing as a forward? Look at the lane that he leaves open in the middle of the ice. Again, just watch all of these. I don't care if they're 5-on-4 or 5-on-5 or 1-on-5. When the middle of the ice is open, there's something wrong. Next. Now look at this. Now we're talking about that high danger area. Hey, Jake, can you please make a save for me here? Okay. Next one.
He did.
And he did.
Yeah,
he makes a save.
That was a
he
big
makes
time save.
a high danger quality save. This is just the start of the playoffs. This is round 1. Okay. Now let's move on a little bit. Okay, this here, I threw this in here because this is how I'm flashing back a little bit to Edmonton. This is how you are team tough. Okay, something a little, I think, wide on this one, got chopped in the top of the foot.
Right at the top of the crease.
Now, all of a sudden, we get some bodies in here. Next one, you'll see where, look at this. This is how you're just team tough. This is not anybody getting punched in the head. It's saying, hey, if you're messing around with one of our top guys, this is what we're going to do. We're not taking penalties. Okay, let's get rid of that. That's probably never going to change. Now, let's go on. Next one that we're going to wait for here is Elijah looks like I didn't. There you go, Elijah. Now, this is stuff. This is still 5-on-5. This is how our coverage is coming back into our own zone. I see 2 white jerseys, and I do not see another white jersey in half of the rink. There's not one. So now the next one you'll see, now as they come across, now there's the first one in here. But what ultimately happens on this one, yes, the pass is going to come to the guy that's wide open.
Hey, Luds,
and if you want to look at the player, number 21, is that what you want to see that one?
27 is a forward.
Yeah. Well, he's not a defenseman either.
If I'm not mistaken, 44 CC is coming back from being higher in the zone. That's
again,
less than ideal.
You guys are learning here. So that's what's happening as defensemen. Long time ago, I was told, as a defenseman, if you're chasing back to your own net, you've made a mistake. It was phrased a little differently.
Nice filter.
Okay, so now what happens there? There's a scoring chance. Now here, a little more 5-on-5. This is the part where I'm getting carried away. I just heard a chair break over there. So what? So here's my issue on this one. Here's a defenseman for the Colorado Avalanche who's just getting near his own blue line, breaking the puck out. There's one player with a Stars jersey on that went in the front door, and there's 2 players with Stars jerseys on going out the back door. There's 3 forwards that are changing right now, coming off the ice. Next, don't have to show it, but I can tell you this isn't part of that, but they ultimately went down and scored. This was a goal I think that was scored by O'Connor.
No, I think that was the Landeskog goal.
Oh, it could have been Landeskog.
That was his one-timer in the slot there.
So here we are now. Again, a little more 5-on-5. What area of the ice are you supposed to take? High danger area.
The middle.
Right in the middle of the ice. Hey, Jake, can you make a save for us here? Next one. Jake, this is it's even tougher to swallow because you at least had some time to recover to the middle of the ice. Jake made the save. I believe he made the save on this one. Okay, now we move on again. This here is the PK. Back to the PK.
So now we're on the conference final.
We're into the Edmonton series. Now, right here, are we in pretty good shape? That's probably the best one we've seen where guys are supposed to be, with one exception. Everybody's head is staring at the puck. Mm-hmm. No one's looking around. I believe this is Oscar Beck, number 10 here. Yep. Okay, now you go to the next frame.
And there's also
what happens is when you don't look around and you don't find the guys you're supposed to find, you have to kind of scramble. Beck does that. He has to dive. He dives here to at least get a stick on the puck. That's what he's doing the right thing. If he would have looked around, he would have already seen somebody coming down the slot. Now it's a little fortunate here. The next one will show it pops over here to Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. He gets the puck over here. Nice bounce for him. The next one right in front of the slot. Hey, Jake, can you make a save here? Well, not this one. He didn't. He's getting bombarded for the first 2 rounds.
And that was a really good shot by Nugent-Hopkins.
Yes.
Is it possible to go back, Elijah? I can't see who it is, but do you think the Stars need to pressure as far as they do into the corner?
We're going to get into that, Sam.
Okay.
You are so right.
I was just curious because he's way out of there, and I know they do it a lot.
So if you go back about 2 or 3 frames.
Do we know who that is over there in the corner?
It's a righty.
So
CC. There you go.
Let me just tell you who this is. Here's a simple one to sum it up. That's Connor McDavid. Yeah. Okay, we'll get to this in a little bit.
Okay.
This is Connor McDavid.
Can't wait.
All right, so this results in a goal. Okay, now we move on again. Pretty good here, right?
Yes.
Killing the penalty again. We're not all strung out. Next frame. Essa's here on the bottom right of the screen. Essa comes over here to Draisaitl. Leon Draisaitl, I'm sorry, is not dangerous here. Where's the danger of Draisaitl has the puck? Now we move on, and what happens is, look at where Draisaitl is right now. He's that guy standing in front of the net. Our best defenseman in Essa Lindell got attracted to the puck. So now Draisaitl beats him to the front of the net. There's nobody in a shooting lane here, and I believe this is Bouchard. Yeah, this is Bouchard,
Bouchard shot,
who we know can shoot the puck. Get in a shooting lane. We're not there. Then down on the right-hand side of Jake, that's Wyatt Johnston down there. And guess who that is? That's Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Well, right at the end of this, as this puck gets to the net, Wyatt decides to step out. He steps away from Nugent-Hopkins, who gets a little tap in. You'll probably see it on the next one. Wide open right here. There's no confrontation. There's Draisaitl. There's Nugent-Hopkins standing all alone in front of
McDavid.
Hey, Jake, can you make a great save? Yeah. Nope, not going to make a great save. So there we go. That's our penalty kill. That starts out good, and then we get attracted to the puck, and we don't see things. Now we move on again.
Let's hold on. Go back to that one before we get to this next one. Can you go back 2 more? One more. There. So there's Draisaitl in the corner. We know he can. You're right. I don't think he's dangerous in that spot. We know that he's been dangerous as a one-timer at the bottom of the circle, which very few players
remember, good. A man short is still a 5-on-5.
But
Jake counts.
But leaving McDavid open in the slot even though he doesn't get this shot here because it goes back to Bouchard, seems like it's counterproductive.
Well, McDavid doesn't get the puck, but yeah, you're right. But again, look at what we open up. It's like laying down a red carpet to go to the front of the net. Okay, now
That's
fast
just
forward.
way too
Okay.
much space right there.
So I'm going to have you go to the next one after the break here because we're going to carry this over here on the
Wow, whole
DLS
segment. I love it.
How do we
Stars
do that? Okay.
podcast.
This is a man's game, right? You're supposed to play like a man. Speaking of man.
Agreed.
Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean, every aspect. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as the pits, belly buttons, butt cracks, your gonads, and your grundle. Now, if you don't know, that's that little area between the butt crack and the giblets. You know, that anatomy class 101 for you people here today. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand.
You gave him permission to do this.
Yeah, you guys saddled me with this read. I don't know. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. And we need to check in with Ralphie. I think he's testing that out. Man's starter pack comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off the Family Jewels starter pack with our exclusive code. Use the code DLS shopmando.com.
All right, Luds, let's talk about Bud Light. What's up, Stars fans? Well, we know what's up. How to enjoy the Stanley Cup final because you're not enjoying the Stars games anymore, at least not till next season. So what do? Well, you can still toss on your lucky jersey, invite people over, grab some pizza from your go-to place, and of course, grab some Bud Light to stock your fridge. See, it's that easy. Just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly, 21 and older. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, Luds, let's get back into it. We're making Elijah work very hard
where
here.
were we, Elijah?
We are in the...
Okay.
This is game
Another little power
5,
play.
right?
Okay, Edmonton power play. All right. I believe that player over there in a white jersey reaching the puck is number 97. He's a pretty good player. Okay, Connor McDavid.
Oh, this is game 5.
Okay,
This is in
and
Dallas.
over here on the bottom right of the screen, that's where Leon Draisaitl is. Neither one of those guys are dangerous right here. Okay, what do? Everybody's staring at the puck right now, and look at little Corey Perry come tap dancing right into the slot. Now, Essa's hanging over here because he's worried about Leon Draisaitl. I believe what's happening is we have a defenseman going to Connor McDavid who's not dangerous over there either, and then next one, all we do. Go ahead, Sam.
I was just going to ask you because this is the same question. I was
Yes.
ask. Is he being told to do that?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're talking
What
about
do you think?
CC.
If you're looking at that,
I think what
CC
they
looks like
wanted to do.
he takes off immediately.
Here's what I believe. They're in their minds are going, we're going to take the 2 most dangerous guys on the planet away.
Okay.
And then we're going to let everybody else do some damage. But at some point, you have to realize those guys aren't dangerous on those areas of the ice.
And he's more dangerous getting a pass off to the wide open guy that you're leaving.
Exactly.
You're not taking him away if you're giving him a passing option.
What's supposed to happen here now? Hey, Jake, make a save.
Make the save. And
Well,
then-
unfortunately, he didn't make a save on this one. Corey Perry is pretty good in front of the net.
Boy,
putting
is
pucks in
he
the
ever.
net.
That's
But
just-
look
that-
at the
that's
space
space. Yeah,
again.
space
Look
is
at
crazy.
all the empty ice in the wrong area. It's the wrong area to leave your goalie hung out
and
to
those
dry.
are arguably your 4 best penalty killers.
And so, okay, let's just keep going before I get to Owen's original point here, how this whole thing started. Go ahead. Go ahead, E. Is that the last one? Okay. So, and here's to your, you know who scored the power play goals? I think you said they scored 6 power play goals. Draisaitl scored 1, by the way. That's it. Everybody else scored the goals for him.
Game 4.
Because you're paying attention to people on the outside of the rink. Yes, I know that they're dangerous.
Oh, we did miss one.
Yeah, I think we missed
It
one.
was game 4, the one where Corey Perry had the tap in.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was that one 5-on-3
backdoor play.
where it was backdoor. That's the one. Yeah.
It's the very same thing.
But yeah,
it's
the
the very
point can be
same
made
thing.
here.
But the point is here is I get it when guys are dangerous, but when they're out here, leave them out there. Now you have to start looking around, and we always open up the middle of the ice. And this, I showed 5-on-5, 5-on-4, the whole thing. Now, Owen was talking about how the numbers had gone down. Jake wasn't making the saves. Jake is tired. If you go through these the games previous, do you know how many quality chances Jake had to make in the first and second round?
A lot.
It was ridiculous
Yeah.
how much work he had to put in. And at some point, he's got to get what's it called when you get gun shy?
Well,
you know
remember
what I'm saying?
the point you made the other day, Luds, about how many games was it they gave up the first goal out of their playoff
there
run?
was 16 of 19, I believe.
15 or 16.
16 of 19.
That's not
I believe
setting
it was.
your goalie up to. I'm not saying you in the playoffs you have to have an easy night, but you're giving him a challenge of you're going behind. Now every mistake is so much more magnified because you're playing from a deficit, and the Stars game definitely plays better when they're leading and controlling the game versus chasing it. And to your point, I think that mentally fatigues a goalie as much as physically. I mean, he had to carry this team for much of the first 2 rounds.
The reason they're
because of
dangerous
that.
when they open up and as the game moves along a little bit, your opponent has to open up a little bit.
Yeah.
And when they make mistakes, Dallas has the ability to convert those because they can score goals. But I just think, and this kind of all leads up to the way Pete left it in the press conference, talking about Jake. Like, dude, you had to understand that, and I'm not just talking about 3 rounds in the playoffs. This goes on for 82 games. Like, that's how they play 82 games.
So
and
even on the penalty kill? So you're saying
I'm saying 5-on-5 penalty kill the whole thing.
We're still seeing
We've
that
seen
he's just making the save.
Are these people here that actually listen to the show every once in a while not sick and tired of hearing me talk about how they play in their own zone? I'm sick and tired of seeing it, to be totally honest with you. If you've got one of the best, watch the 2 goaltenders. You don't have to watch both, but watch the goaltenders that are playing here. Yeah, they're making some good saves. But there's people in there that are battling. They're blocking shots.
Yep.
They're in the right areas of the ice.
Falling on the goalie.
But I mean, and again, that's part of keeping people away from your goaltender, which, can we play that little audio? This is a good time to play that
I think
audio.
it'd be a great time.
Let's play that audio.
You want to set up and tell them what we're about to listen to?
No, you don't have to. Let's just listen to it because I just think this is from an old school coach. Okay, Bruce Boudreau. All right, and he's talking to a monster of a player, and Chris Pronger, who just happened to be on one of the shows this morning. But this is what Boudreau had to say this morning, and just listen to what he says.
I don't know of any coach that's over 50 years old that doesn't want that big defense, and you were definitely part of that big defense, and I'll bet you would say right now that if you look at all the Stanley Cup champions in recent years, one of the reasons they have it is in the playoffs is their defense are big and strong, and they don't allow guys to get to the front of the net.
The last couple words he said is the most important part. They don't allow people to get to the front of the net. Now, I know it sounded like I had a couple soup cans with a piece of string tied together in that, so I didn't know how to record that thing until Owen showed me how at the end. So that, I know it's
Next
bad
time
sound.
is going to be so much better.
But the point is like that, and he said in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is an old school mentality, but you can't. This is where I go back to when I said at the end of the year they lost 7-8 games in a row. I said it's not like a light switch, and all of a sudden they went around. Then you go back and you look at all this. Not that we didn't point it out at the time, but it's just, and I could have put the Winnipeg Jets thing on here too. It's the same thing. Your goaltender wearing the Stars jersey was so good. I believe as you get wore down at a certain point because you see it after another. And at some point, they're going to start going in. And then to throw, I don't know if you threw them under the bus or how we want to do this. At the end, you had to look at the whole sample size. And I'm talking about games 1 through 82 and go back a year from now or prior. This is the way this team is played. Yes, it's awesome when they score goals, but things are magnified in the playoffs. Yeah. And people find they got a bigger set of gonads. I can say that because I say it in the Mando read. I can say it here. In the playoffs, there's players that get bigger giblets, okay? They go to harder areas, but they don't have to go to harder areas against this team all the time. Exactly. There we find it.
That was his one for the day.
Okay. They don't have to play with big giblets because there's a red carpet sometimes that's laid down. You have to be able to push them out of the fight or at least not even get there, but it's going to happen, but at least confront them a little bit.
And who did you say did the best job of any of the 6 defensemen at keeping players away from the net?
Bishop.
What do you make of that? That it's the newest guys that are doing it better than the others?
But he knows who he is, right? And so I think that's the way he was developed as he came up. Number one, anytime, and I tell our players all the time, when you step on the ice and there's scouts sitting up and think, you know the first thing they're going to see? They're going to see your size. I'm sorry, that's the first thing they see. Then they want to see if you can hit or skate. But when you're a big, especially a defenseman, you want to know how you're going to play in the corners. Yeah. I don't really care, because you're going to find those other defense. I care how you play and set the tempo and set the tone for the rest of the group. But you can't just keep Bichel on the whole night in your own zone there on the ice. You have to find other guys that are willing to do that. And it doesn't have to be guys that are 6'6". Just compete. But right now, I think opponents go back to their locker room after games and go, you got any bruises on you? You got any bumps on your shins or on your wrists or anything like that? We just get to the front of the net. I don't know which guy besides Leon, and I think Petro did a good job too.
Yeah.
And those two guys do it the way you're supposed to do it. Everybody's like, they can get to the front of the net. Well, players skate so well when pucks get to the point and you can't hold up that much as a forward that's trying to get out.
You can't just tackle him
that
anymore.
defenseman has to get that puck off his stick relatively quick. So if you just get away from the net a little bit as defenseman and you engage with who's ever trying to get the net, and you engage with them, and I can kind of ride back with them where I don't get an interference call, but the puck will ultimately get to the goaltender before the player does. But right now, anytime you watch, when there is a defenseman in front of the net, not out at the offensive blue line covering a forward, and that's why I don't like forwards playing in front of the net.
Yeah.
Like, Sam's a forward, you're a forward. You guys weren't trained to play in front of your own net.
No.
You're trained to be at the other end. Well, you two don't. You guys are out here too. But there's a difference in playing in front of the opponent's net and your net. Well, you're not really geared that way as a forward. That's where defensemen are taught from day one. You play strong in front of your net. You keep things to the perimeter. You let your goaltender see the puck. 2-on-1s, 3-on-2s, the whole 9 yards of all that kind of stuff. But it seems like that's not part of what was being emphasized on this team. It's more about, let's go to that end and score goals.
Let me ask you about fatigue. You mentioned that earlier. In the third round, did that catch up on Esa Lindell?
It had to. I think the whole year catches up on Esa, be honest with you.
That's my follow-up
That's
question.
my thing about Esa playing
what do you do
9
differently
minutes
next
of
year?
every game on the PK.
Because Esa leads the playoffs this year in shorthanded time on ice.
We led the league.
Right, but this is lead the league in the playoffs at 79 minutes in 18 games played.
But
So
when you watch Esa play,
4:24 average shorthanded time on ice.
But watch Esa play. He's smart about it.
Yes.
But at some point it's going to catch up to you. But because Esa really doesn't get in and battle hard. He did not like a Bishop.
He conserves.
He doesn't get too far away. He does things, but there's no question he had to be run down a little bit. I don't know why you can't get other players during the regular season learn how to kill penalties.
Is it because he's overused in the regular season, or does it have something to do with the Stars taking too many penalties in the playoffs, and so he's getting run down in that game?
Well, I think one leads to the other.
Yeah.
Like if that's happening, right, you bet that's why you have other guys that can kill penalties. Not just right now, it's like they have 2.5 guys they feel comfortable with, right? And so Esa's just is that guy out there. So if his teammates are taking penalties, you're actually hurting one of your best defensive defensemen, in my opinion. And I don't mean to label him just as a defensive defenseman, but he does such a good job in the corners. And you watch him, very rarely does he lose guys coming off the wall. Like, even though he wanted to be like a couple of those things with Draisaitl on the wall, you don't have to go there if you're not going to arrive on. As the puck is arriving, you can arrive at the same time. That I'm okay with. But when somebody gets the puck and you skate over to them on a PK, you just help the power play out because you went from a good spot to a bad spot. But then to get beat back to the front of the net and being more focused on the puck probably than you were on that guy, that Draisaitl guy, to me, when you're physically tired, you get mentally tired.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think your focus can just get lost. And I just think they ride him so much. And I understand why they do, but that just means you got to do some more development with some other defensemen.
It's
and
amazing
teach them how
you
to
say
kill
that.
penalties.
When you are physically drained, how the thoughts and the hockey sense kind of disappear.
Mine has
slows
disappered
down.
now. I'm physically fatigued right now, and I'm like Popeye. I need to get a Bud Light, but that's what happens is you lose your focus, and you're like, oh man, I should have been right here. Where in the starts of games and starts of series and the playoffs, things like that, you're pretty sharp everywhere you go. But again, I think the minutes that he plays in that, and I think he knows he has to conserve, and I think he wants to play those minutes. But at some point, you got to go, dude, we got to give you a little bit of rest, and your rest should come, through the regular season, so that you're not half spent when you get to the playoffs. You're supposed to be as healthy and well rested heading into game one of the playoffs, instead of having to play all of those minutes in the regular season. Don't tell me that you can't work with Harley and obviously Bischel and again, whether it's Labushkin or Cece, whoever, you guys just get your head on a swivel, because we play like, you look at the horse races, right? And they got them little blinders on. That's how we play the game sometimes. There's a puck, and there's my guy. That's my guy, so I'm supposed to stay with that guy. Well, there's something going on back there that somebody's taking care of my spot that can't.
Yeah, and Esa Lindell, it's even more important for him because that's his game, is to be in the right spot, right?
Yep.
So if you take one step away from his mental game, you're going to see it, and that's where we saw a couple lapses. But I think, tell me Zach Hyman didn't have an effect on that as well. I mean, again, Harley and Lindell looked very fatigued, and he only played 4 games.
And the thing is they come with a banner on their chest saying, I'm going to be right there tonight. You know exactly where they're going to be. So you have to find a way to meet them 2 or 3 feet before they get to that area and just slow their progress down a little bit. And it's almost like we go, Zach Hyman's going to be in front of the net, so I'm going to let Zach Hyman go there.
That's where he gets the
And then all he does is he gets himself in a spot where when pucks are starting to come to the net, now he turns in a certain way, and then he boxes you out. So if there's a rebound right there, he's the first guy to get the rebound.
And, of course, sometimes it just hits him and goes in, and he's very good at that,
I think I'm taking the rest of the show
Luds, thank you very much.
Excellent.
That's like everything we expected and then some. Up next, let's hear about Mikko Rantanen and the Carolina experience here on the DLLS Stars Podcast.
Finances can be messy and confusing, but Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It is more than just your average budgeting app. Monarch Money gives you a complete financial command center, which I love the way they word that. It makes it sound awesome. For your accounts, investments, and goals, giving you a screenshot of everything that you have so you can keep everything organized and get a good bird's eye view on all of your finances. Start managing the finances to build the life you actually want, because without that clear picture, finances can be hard and your dreams can feel like they are out of reach. Track your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly so you can focus on what matters most, making your biggest life goals a reality. The finance tool people actually love. Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. That's the big dogs. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code DLLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with DLLS.
Off your first beer?
First year.
Let's talk about Shady Rays. You know that moment, the one where you realize you've left your favorite sunglasses on the beach or on the roof of your car, or like Dave Grohl when he realized his wallet was 3 states away at a gas station, so they wouldn't let him in the Pantera house because he didn't have ID. Well, we've all been there, especially Luds. No,
Luds
they always let Luds in. Well, with Shady Rays, we found
key
that
to the back door.
Finding them that you can change the game with these sunglasses that are made for real life. Seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. Here's the wild part. If you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right. When Mikko Rantanen was traded to the Dallas Stars, he met the team on the road in Edmonton. This was right at the trade deadline, and it was a big time. He was excited to join the Stars. We were shocked. It was a huge bit of news. And they played a little road trip, including having to then go out to Colorado shortly thereafter for his first trip back with the Avalanche. But before he did that, I think it was Edmonton, then Vancouver, and then they came back, had a day off or two. Then they had a Stars practice before that trip out to Denver. And Mikko said, I want to clear some falsehoods. And we all went, holy cow, what's going on here? Well, here's what started this whole thing. Head coach Rod Brind'Amour was talking with Adam Gold back at the deadline when Rantanen was traded by the Hurricanes, who had acquired him from Colorado in January. And 2 months later, they're sending a top 10 forward to Dallas. And Brind'Amour said the following.
There's not been one guy that has left here because they didn't like it here. That was except for Mikko, and he didn't not like it. When he showed up, he said, there's 4 teams I'll go play for. Well, you're not one of them. So there's 28 other teams he wasn't going to. And when the better question is, should we have known that before we signed him? Right. Or attempted to sign him? You know, Gensel was a totally opposite thing. We offered him the contract. We offered him at the end. He's here.
Right.
Well, we didn't for whatever reason. That's a different conversation. And all the other guys that walked out of here after free agency is because they got paid a lot more money than we were offering. They all wanted to stay. Right. So Mika was the only one that I've been associated with that said, I don't want to, this is not for me. And I think there's other circumstances on that. It's not because of the hockey. It was because I think his family, it wasn't for him. Mm-hmm. So good. And I appreciate that he let us know that. We probably should have known that before we made the deal. Maybe that changes how we go about things.
Couple of subtle shots at his front office and general manager.
In there.
Just throwing that out there. So when that happened, it sounded like he was saying that Rantanen didn't want to go to Carolina right away. Now, we all know Mikko, and he said it to us straight up when he came here, that he did not want to leave Colorado. That while he and his agent were playing hardball with the Avalanche over a new deal, he never intended to leave Denver, right? He was very specific about that. Well, when he came to Dallas after the second move, he walked into the press conference room in Frisco, and Sam, literally the second question, here's his answer.
Well, it happened pretty quick, you know. It wasn't long ago when I, you know, kind of the things would happen, you know, with Carolina, and you know, obviously the trade there, and I never really saw some things were said that I had a list of teams ready when I went there, but that's false. You know, I went there when I got traded. Obviously, big shock to leave Colorado. You know, I went there with an open mind. Tried my best on the ice always when I put the jersey on there, and tried my best. You know, and just decided just a little bit before the deadline that Carolina would probably get a better return from me if I would do a sign and trade. So that would be better for their team, rather than me being a rental and going to somewhere to play. So, you know, that was the decision, and then it was teams were, you know, interested, but want to make it clear I was open-minded in Carolina and really thought about staying there, and that was the initial thought when I got there, not before.
Now, this was the drama that was playing out the week after the trade deadline, and we played it on our show, and we talked about this whole thing. And listening to that again, guys, before we play the reason why we're doing this segment, which is Rod Brind'Amour spoke after Carolina was eliminated from the Eastern Conference Final, and he's going to clear the air a little bit. But the reason, just listening to that again, you hear that he's very professional about how he cleared up these falsehoods. He didn't go out and say Rod Brind'Amour or Carolina was wrong, or, you know, these guys are slanted. He just simply said, I am telling you the honest truth. And his story, Sam, has been dead on consistent since the moment he got to Dallas. He's been very straightforward with the media. Yep. He answers everything, and there's nothing that you would see that would suggest that you shouldn't believe what he's saying.
Yeah, and that was the most noticeable thing was, I forget who just said it. I don't remember if it was Pete when we were in Colorado or somewhere during the playoffs, was talking about how Rantanen's a little different from the Finns in that way.
Yeah.
He's not quiet. He's going to answer questions. He's going to go a little deeper into things. But as you said, that's why I think Sean brought up the whole thing about Rantanen as a captain or as a leader, things like that, is because he has that in him. He has that ability to just say what he's thinking. And if he hears something that's not true, he's going to bring it out and say, this wasn't true. And I think that was fun to deal with, the back and forth and try to figure out who was right. I think it's pretty clear, and I'm sure it's going to make it even more clear in a second here, that he was honest about the whole thing, and he gave his, even if in the back of his mind he had a list of teams when he went to Carolina, because I know he was devastated to get traded and didn't want to do that. I think he went in and he gave it an honest effort and was pretty quickly realizing that that wasn't the place for him.
All right. So at the end of Carolina's season, when they were doing their end of season media availability, Rod Brind'Amour sat down with a podcast that covers the Hurricanes regularly, and you can clearly hear that they have a rapport and a relationship. This isn't just him popping on a random show. It's Ovies and Giglio is the name of the podcast. You can check it out on YouTube if you want to see the whole thing. But here's the clip that this is Brind'Amour clearing the air.
You have a conversation with Mikko Rantanen, and he says, I don't want to be here.
Okay,
you weren't on my list.
Okay, he didn't actually ever say that to me.
Okay.
He was great. By the way, I want to make sure we air this out. I had no problem with this player at all. No problem.
For context here, though, real quick, you had talked to Adam Gold before a game that went viral about the conversation.
I just knew what he was thinking. He never actually told me.
He did not verbalize to you.
No, but this goes back to
dangerous.
There's a bigger backstory, but the point of the whole thing is Mikko did us a favor.
Yeah.
He got here. It wasn't that he didn't like us. And he's like, I'm a free agent in a month. I have to sign now. Whoa, I just need time. We can't give you time because if we goes to free agency and we lose you for nothing, that's really not good. Everything just got poured onto him, and he needed to take a break. And I get it. Had he had another year on his deal and we weren't talking about this, I bet you this would have been a non-factor.
Okay.
But everything got dumped on him. And it is what it is. He made a decision, and he actually helped us by at least saying, I know I want to go there. There's 3 teams I might go to. Try that. Essentially what happened. So now we give management credit. They pivot, and we pull off a deal that at least we get. And we get a player that we kind of knew we thought we might like. Turns out we really like him. So that I think salvaged that whole thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, but I had never had a problem with Mikko and how he did handle it, how he came, he worked, he tried. He actually played really well. He had just got no results.
Okay.
If you just look at the actual games, the chances he had, he created, they were all right there. We just didn't score.
Gotcha.
And he didn't score. He hit goalposts. It was crazy to watch how the games went when he was here.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say I love Rod Brind'Amour. I'm a big fan of him, both as a player, now as a coach. No criticisms of him speaking his mind at all. In fact, I love it because it gives us things to talk about. I love that he cleared the air because at the time, it was one of the few times back in March where I'd heard Rod say something and went, boy, that's kind of out of character for a guy who is very straightforward and honest, and what you see is what you get. For him to say that there was clearly confusion with what he said to the original comments to Adam Gold about Mikko's time. I love that he cleared the air because then his whole segment with that podcast, if you have time, check it out. It's fascinating. He gets into a whole bunch of stuff. He rants about the way penalties were called in the series against the Florida Panthers in the conference final. But then he also went on to say that Florida a couple years ago basically hijacked the Carolina style of play, and now they play it better than the Hurricanes do. And he's a great interview. But Luds, I think it does a service to Mikko Rantanen for us to play this and for everybody to hear it, to know that, yes, not only is he telling the truth, was he got put in a really weird and awkward situation in Carolina that he never asked for.
Yeah, I mean, everybody said who would handle it better than him. I think
nobody. I think
Rantanen's a very smart person. I think he's a smart player. I personally don't think. I think he knew. Listen, he's been in the league for 10 years, 11 to 9, whatever it is. He's played against Carolina plenty of times.
Yeah,
the reputation about the way Carolina plays, everybody knows how they play. They play straight ahead. That's not Rantanen's style. I'm sorry, it's not. And I think he handled the thing. He said all the right things, but I believe that he's like, this ain't going to be the place for me. I don't know why I'm going here playing. I don't want to play this kind of style, but he gives it a chance if that's what he did. But at the end of the day, you look at how that team plays, you look at how this team plays, and a couple other teams that play like that, he would prefer to be on those kind of teams because it's more puck possession. Roddy's way is like, boom, go. Pucks go in, you go get it. I believe Rantanen's the kind of player that there's more players around here that under the philosophy of, if we have the puck, why do we got to get it away? And then we got to go get it again. Well, there's different ways to get around that. You know, you do the little dumps and you get into certain areas where people are going there. So the old dump and chase isn't really what it is. But Brind'Amour's is still like that. I mean, they touch the puck in the neutral zone and they see that center line, it's going in, and it keeps everybody on the same page. I have no problem with it as long as you have the right kind of players that play in straight lines and pucks get to the net and they can get to the net. But I believe that, again, I believe he's thinking to myself, I kind of want, if I did that, my computer would shut down. But I think he wants to be in a place like this where you can handle the puck and you can pull up on the walls and, you know, it's a little different style.
Do you think there's any, because you talked about how Brind'Amour was when he first made that comment, to me, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a little bit of this guy came here and he didn't like it, and we don't like that. It almost like a little hurt feelings from Brind'Amour there. Like, he came here and he didn't like it. It's kind of like a response right away, a little emotional response.
The first shot across the bow was when I don't believe we don't got a deal done. I mean, I think that should have been basically. What are you kidding me? We got a player. And again, who wouldn't want one of the top 5 players?
They took a risk,
league, right?
and it didn't work.
Yeah, but you didn't sign him to anything. You didn't. I mean,
he's suggesting that maybe it would have been a good idea to know if he wants to sign an extension with Carolina, like Dallas did,
but
before making the deal.
The deal with Brody is he is the same guy coaching as he played. He plays in straight lines. He plays hard. He plays between the whistles. He does all the things. He's the guy you want on your team. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about what kind of player here,
you'd love a Brind'Amour on your team.
He's got a son, I believe. Didn't he get drafted?
He's on that team.
I think he just made his debut in somewhere this year.
Yep.
Yeah,
right near the end.
Yep.
Well, if he plays anything like that, let's get him. Yeah. If he's anything like that, let's go get him. But again, I think he wants guys that he leads by himself, right? I mean, he leads the way he has run his whole life, and he wants players that's why he likes Stank. I mean, Stankoven's a heat-seeking missile, so to speak, a 4-foot missile, but he's like, but he plays in straight lines, and he goes to the front of the net, and I think Brind'Amour, that's the way Brind'Amour thinks that we're going to play when we get to the finals. If they do, we're going to wear that team down because that's how he wants to play the game. Is he wants to wear them down. And maybe if he gets a healthy goaltender at some point, that may happen.
Yeah, Freddie Anderson definitely looked better when he came back, and maybe they figure something out for him moving forward. We will definitely keep that in mind. I hope you enjoyed that little look at the Rantanen and Carolina thing, because up next, boy, do we have some NHL news to talk to you about. The Norris Trophy was awarded, somebody retired, and maybe a trade deal not involving the Stars. Next on DLLS. But first, let's talk about being a diehard. Well, there are so many reasons why you should be a DLS diehard. Let's start with that newsletter that we are trying to sell you. Not sell you on, it's free. We're just trying to convince you should sign up. Go to alldls.com. It's our main webpage. Go to the bottom of the homepage, and there it says DLLS newsletter. Just put your email in, hit submit. Free. Every morning you'll get the newsletter, you get updates, great little insights. If there's new articles on the All DLS website, whether it's Stars, Mavs, Rangers, Cowboys. We have a new Dallas Wings podcast that's a weekly show. By the way, Elijah's been a part of that as our producer and their producer, so he's going to have to work double tomorrow. That's always fun. But all that information, you'll stay ahead of the game and make sure that you're not missing anything throughout the site. Then, okay, this one bugs everybody on this show because it's about the Cowboys show, but let's talk about the Vegas trip. Because if you are a fan of the Cowboys, or if you like Vegas or travel or any of those things, DLS is going on a Cowboys road trip to Las Vegas for a Monday night football game in November. Cowboys versus the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. The accommodations of the package include Mandalay Bay Hotel and Resort and Casino. There's meet and free time on the Strip. There's the game. There's all sorts of fun stuff. You don't have to be flying from Dallas to be a part of it. So go to the All DLS website, scan the QR code, check that out. Remember, if you're a DLLS diehard, you get 20% off events. And why shouldn't you be a diehard? Look what I'm wearing today, because you get a free shirt with your annual subscription your first year. Well, my Otter shirt arrived yesterday, so I'm wearing it today. That's one of the shirts you could pick. I think it's a spectacularly looking shirt. You can also buy these shirts. You don't have to just wait for the free one. You can also buy. And being a diehard, you get 20% off merch as well. What a great way to stock up on some great looking shirts. Okay, last segment today, NHL news and notes. Let's start with the one that we didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday, which was TJ Oshie. On Monday, announced his retirement from the National Hockey League. And Luds, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about him first, because he has meant an awful lot, not only in the National Hockey League, but also for USA Hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody remembers, if you're into the international stuff, when he was able to go, 4 or 5 times in the shootout? I don't know. He went
6.
What was his nickname?
TJ Sochi.
Sochi.
Yep.
TJ Sochi.
Where they were playing the Olympics.
2014?
Yep.
American kid, Minnesota, went in the first round. I think he was pretty high in the first round, but I think what a lot of people liked about it was he went back to school. He went back to school for a couple more years. You know, he didn't just pull out as a top 10 or whatever he was and go play pro. He said he wanted to work on his game. The unfortunate part is the injuries. And I think that's anyway with any of these kind of top players. But talk about a guy that could have the puck on a string. I mean, he get below the top of the circles in the hash mark area and have any kind of space. It was going to be in the back of the net. So, I think
wait.
that.
Do you know where Oshie went to college?
Yeah.
I wonder. Well, no, I know you do, Sam.
The North Dakota.
There you
Fighting
go.
Sioux.
University of North Dakota. No wonder you like him so much.
Well, I didn't say I liked him. You said I liked him.
I like him.
Yeah,
Did
I've
you
never
like
met him, but he's a UND guy, not a UND grad.
3 years.
Neither am I.
3 years at North
You don't have
Dakota.
to graduate. It's overrated.
It's a couple of years more than I made it.
He was actually a St. Louis Blues first-round pick. You forget about that because he finished his career in Washington. But, for a guy that played from 2008 till 2024, I mean, he was on the roster, but he was hurt this year, didn't play. He only played for 2 franchises.
But he went in with the coaches. He went into the rooms. He was in meetings. He was in all the meetings. And he actually wanted to know if it was something that he wanted to get into. So he sat in on both sides and was kind of taking that kind of stuff in. So, maybe it's something that he'll want to do in the future. And but you can tell he's a lifer when it comes to the hockey thing. Like most of us, I mean, it's all you know and it's all you do. So but yeah, I think he's going to be missed. I think that organization in Washington misses him with what he brings on the ice. But again, not being a teammate of his, everything that you hear about him was teammate first.
Yeah,
which starts in North Dakota.
And he worked hard too, right? He wasn't just a skilled guy. Like I always have,
which may have cost him more time in the end.
I'm sure.
He played Sam. He played 1,010 regular season games. Nothing to sneeze at. But he only played 80 or more. He played 80 regular season games twice in his entire career.
Yeah. And you know what? Part of that though is the way that he played the game. And if you're the dangler kind of things like that, and you're playing against the wrong kind of guys, he did have his head down a few times.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you play that kind of a style, and it's how he got his bell rung a few times.
Yeah, and I'll never forget. I was in college watching those games, and I think they were in Sochi, so they were super early. In the U.S. and even earlier where I was in California. So I'd watch him 5 a.m., whatever it was. And I think it was Datsuk that kept going for Russia.
One-on-one.
And it was just back and forth. And it was just everyone's,
he never missed.
Everyone's trying to look up, is this real? Are they allowed to do this? Is this? And it just was chaotic. And what did he miss? He missed one of his 5 attempts or whatever it was overall. And they end up winning that game and going on to, I believe, lose to Jamie Benn, scoring the only goal
Sochi
for
Ben.
Canada.
Yep.
So it was just one of those guys you respect because of what Luds just said. On and off the ice, he did a lot of things that weren't just putting the puck in the back of the net. And I think that was a great career. He won the cup, right? Did he get 2 or did he have
just
one?
The one in 2018.
Just the one in 2018.
Yep.
So good to get a championship. Reminds me a little bit of Jamie Benn, who you root for to win a cup eventually.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Norris Trophy, because we found out today it was announced, not a surprise, I think, by the end of the year.
The best offensive defenseman in the league.
Good chunk of time where I thought Zach Werenski had a good chance at winning this one. He had a great year. And I want to give him his due, because to be a player on a team like Columbus, which had such an awful start to the season before they even played any games with what happened with Johnny Gaudreau, and to be as good as Werenski was this year, he deserves the attention. But Luds, it's no surprise. The top 3, MAKAR, Werenski, Hughes, and then it's everybody else. As far as the voters, it was pretty clear 1, 2, 3, because they got all the points in this voting.
I mean, it was MAKAR?
It was MAKAR.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
and
no
he was
surprise.
A pretty sizable gap between him and Werenski in votes.
But I think Quinn Hughes is knocking on that door, though.
Yeah,
I do
for
too.
Me, I just he's something else.
That team just needs to be better.
The things that those 2 guys in particular do, they have no and Hudson is very similar to it. The kid that won the Rookie of the Year, they have no fear on their own on the offensive blue line. I mean, when I watch what they do, and as far as moving east-west versus going, and I mean, their feet are outside the blue line. Yeah, their feet are outside the blue line, and the puck is the only thing inside. Like, most of us are already turned and heading back as a partner. You're like, there's no way.
Yeah.
But CALE MAKAR, I mean, he sets the standard, right? I mean, knocking on the door. Did he get to 30 this year? He didn't get to 30 goals, did he?
I
think he just did.
I think he was short.
Yeah, I think he fell a couple short. So, but I mean, he's in Bobby Orr category.
Yeah.
You know, he's in that conversation. You know, one of the greatest or the greatest, however you look at it, of all time.
First defenseman to reach the 30-goal mark since Mike Green did it.
Okay, so he did.
In 08-09.
Okay, I thought he had
30
28.
goals
Yeah.
and 92 points, setting franchise
Yeah,
record.
it was the 30-100 thing because Koff is up there. Paul Coffey's up there, you know, when it comes to all that kind of stuff. But no, I think lucky for Dallas, fortunate for Dallas, CALE MAKAR wasn't himself.
Yeah, he was quiet.
That first round,
was not.
he was maybe the worst.
Well, they only had to play him in
himself
one
we've
round.
seen. Yeah.
So he was not. He was not, and that's a good thing because normally they're the three-headed monster. This time, you know,
Sort of
they
won.
weren't so much. Yeah,
If
exactly.
MAKAR was playing the way we normally expect, I think that Dallas loses that series. It was that close.
And is it as easy as saying they miss Mikko? You know, I mean,
maybe.
when you think about it,
MAKAR missed all that net a lot too in that series. Like he did.
He was trying to be too perfect.
Yeah, and what's funny about that is that Jake Oettinger told me multiple times throughout the year when they played them that nobody does this better than MAKAR, where you look down the pipe of shooters and you know the job is to get through the first shot blocker, right? Yep. He went 2 levels behind that. He was not only getting it through the first and second shot blocker, he was seeing where Jake Oettinger, whatever goalie, looking at their eyes, and as soon as they went to look right around traffic, he shot it left.
Yeah.
So that you can't pick it up. It goes in the spot where you can't see it. And Jake said it was one of those where as soon as he starts to lean, if you don't see the puck on MAKAR's stick anymore, he would just stick out his glove or stick out an arm and hope it's going to hit him on that side. He's just such an elite player. And Thomas Harley finished 7th in that voting as well. He got 1 second place vote, 1 5th place vote from me as well.
Thomas Harley, since Miro came back into play, how did he play?
Do you think he took a step back when Miro came back?
I do.
Quieter.
I do.
Yep.
He
didn't own the blue line like he did.
Yeah, he command, like Harley was the guy when he was the guy. And I whether he stepped back from Miro or whatever it may be, you know, but you could see when was it? The second power play after Miro came back. It was like,
and he fumbled it.
He made a couple boo-boos there that he didn't. And, you know, it was I thought it was like Thomas is generally a guy that gets it, make one move, get it to the net. And then you start trying to do a little extra maybe. And then, and I wondered if he was doing a little extra to prove that he needs to be that guy when Miro's sitting, you know, in the wings. Yeah. And then as soon as that second bobble was, or whenever it was, I remember saying,
came Miro. Yep.
He's going to be on the next power play.
And he was. But you know what? Thomas did have some returns to that spot later on in the playoffs when they had success against Edmonton, and Harley was part of that.
I think
ended the series.
Since the Four Nations thing and Miro being out, he earned himself a little more money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, that gave him an opportunity to showcase what he can do.
The last note here today is trade rumors started yesterday, and the reporting today, so it came from a couple insiders. The New York Post, Larry Brooks has been a longtime reporter covering the Rangers, saying that there is a framework of a deal in place, but they have to keep working it. No trade yet between the New York Rangers and the Anaheim Ducks to send Chris Kreider to Orange County. Now, Kreider is the 3rd highest goal scorer in Rangers history. He's been there 13 years. And just like the Trouba deal last year, which coincidentally was with the Ducks, they look like they are breaking up the cord that had been together with the Rangers since basically right before COVID. And Luds, you were mentioning K-Andre Miller. Sam, you brought him up too. Chris Drury is making changes from the core of the Rangers right now.
Chris Drury is kind of the biggest surprise for me. They got a new deal.
Yeah.
You know, the way things all shook out. You know, I like him. He's the kind of guy that gets to the front of the net. You know what I mean? I like how he plays and how he's gone about his business. And I'm sure he's taken a beating over the years being there, but he's probably fortunate he didn't play in the 80s because he wouldn't have lasted that long being in front of the net. But I like the way he goes about his business. That's the kind of player I think that, and I'm not saying that specific player, but that's the kind of player I think that can help Dallas get a little dirtier.
Yeah, and can score. I think he scored 40 once. He can score a lot of goals. He scores.
He got 50. 52
that's what it was. Yeah. And he can deflect pucks super well. He scores in the playoffs. He scores game-winning goals.
See, where's he coming from? New York?
Yeah, quick stop. What's funny is they're on his no-trade list. I would imagine a team like Dallas is probably not on that no-trade list. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Trade rumors we'll talk about, because I know a lot of you are reading stuff about Jason Robertson. We will lead with that tomorrow unless something big happens. We're going to talk about Jason Robertson trade issues tomorrow. Sean asked us an interesting question yesterday about Brad Marchand and Robertson. We'll get to that tomorrow. So thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed another show, because tomorrow, let's talk Robo for Luds, for Sam, for Elijah, a.k.a. We'll See. And I'm Owen. Thanks for joining us here today on DLS. Oh, before we go, 2 things. 1, thank you to our presenting sponsors, Happiest Hour and Bud Light. 2, it's an hour earlier tomorrow. Our show is at 1 o'clock Central Time tomorrow and on Friday.
Really?
So if you want to watch us live, it's at 1, not at 2. Don't be late.
Speaking of Happiest Hour, why aren't we getting all of our fans together and having a little Happiest Hour at a Happiest Hour?
We're gonna do something.
We'll have to plan something.
We're gonna do something. We promise.
We all silly like the mayor.